What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. In this video, we're firing up another live best ball draft here on drafters.com. We drew the 5th overall pick here. And if you're unfamiliar with drafters, it's a best ball league. And drafters.com is currently running a contest where for $2.22, you can get a chance to take home the grand prize of $10,000. So it's this $2.22 the Drafters Mini NFL Best Ball Championship. They're filling up to 25,000 entries, 50,000 total prizes in this one. And again, first place is $10K. The roster construction, you start 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. And yeah, we're going with the fast draft today, and we'll see what we can do. We're in the 5th spot here, which I really like the 5th overall pick. Because you're going to end up with someone that you like there, whether it's a stud receiver or a stud running back here. So the first player off the board, crazy enough, I've never seen Jonathan Taylor last this long. You see CMC, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, and at 4 right now, this guy is staring at the face of Jonathan Taylor, which is just quite insane. If you think of it, I've never seen Jonathan Taylor go as late as number 4. So this is looking pretty good so far here. And we're going to end up with our pick of Justin Jefferson or Austin Eckler, I would imagine, here, as Jonathan Taylor is going to get scooped up here at the 4th overall pick. We have 30 seconds to make the pick. You can see the ADP is showing Justin Jefferson has a 3.9 ADP, Austin Eckler 5.5. For the fun of it, I love both these players. These guys are both awesome players in my book, both top 5 players. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson, and I will explain why. If we go to, again, the 2022 draft kit, which you can get in the link in the description below. And what's up, Hayden? I went with Justin Jefferson just because if you filter by my flex projections here, I do have Justin Jefferson ranked as my 2nd highest player, and Austin Eckler is my 5th best player. So I love being in this top 5. I've done a lot of drafts where I get Eckler or Justin Jefferson in this range, but just to do something different, I went with JJ. But yeah, I love that 5 spot because you're almost guaranteed someone to fall, whether it's Jefferson or Eckler. But in this one, I go with Justin Jefferson, and we'll see how it goes. And I think between the two, let me see how many times I've drafted both guys here. With Justin Jefferson, I ended up getting him a total of 11 entries so far, which is 13% of my spots here. And I usually get him at the 5.3. And again, his ADP is 3.9. So I get a little bit of a discount there. And as far as Austin Eckler goes, let me search for Eckler. I have roughly the same. I get him 13 total times here, 15% of my exposure, and 4.8 overall. So we're looking good here. Yeah, and check out that 2022 draft kit. We'll be accessing. We'll be going back and forth with my projections throughout the whole thing, and I'll even highlight the guy that I get here. So we ended up with my number 2 overall flex player, and we'll see how it goes. After I took JJ, you see Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, and Dalvin Cook round out the first round. I think the value on Dalvin Cook, I have Dalvin Cook ranked here as my 7th highest flex player. Also, Stephon Diggs is right there. So the highest, I guess the biggest reach for me has been Devontae Adams in this round here. But we're moving and grooving. Not sure who I want to line up in the 2nd round, but so far, some of my favorite players to take in the 2nd round include DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, Aaron Jones, and sometimes Saquon Barkley would be that guy. But if we can get one of the 4 guys that I starred, assuming Travis Kelce's going to go off the board here in a few picks here, I'm thinking my guy CeeDee Evans, Jones, or I guess even Barkley at this point would be of interest here. And yeah, so the Leonard Fournette weight thing, I doubt that this is his first time being this overweight, going into a camp. It's interesting to note that the coaching staff was frustrated with him. So that is a bit of a surprise. I don't like that report, but we'll see here. Leonard Fournette's ADP dropping a little bit, but not in this draft. He went 13th overall. So this guy does not care about big fat Leonard Fournette. And man, if we can get Mike Evans here, let it slide through. Can we get Mike Evans, sir, please? And we do not get Mike Evans. So this is kind of a worst-case scenario. Debo, Mark Andrews, Tyreek Hill. There's Javonte Williams. And we could go heavy receiver here. I think at this point, I don't love Debo. I don't love Tyreek in the 2nd round. These guys are good best ball picks, but just not my favorite. I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I do like Javonte Williams, but we'll worry about RB later. I think I'm going to build a wide receiver heavy draft here with Tee Higgins, who I know – let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm drafting him as the 8th wide receiver off the board, but man, do I love Tee Higgins. And I just want to get him on my team. And what's nice about Higgins is I'm able to put him into my wide receiver 2 spot. And I mean, the dude, he played almost just as good as Jamar Chase down the stretch last year. He had that massive Super Bowl game. He finished with, the championship game against the Chiefs, 103 yards on 6 catches, 4 for 102 TDs in the Super Bowl here. So for best ball purposes, I'm totally into getting Tee Higgins on my team. So shout out to Aiden. What's up with Justin? How are you guys doing tonight? And we're building the wide receiver heavy build here. We'll see if there's any running backs that I like fall to me in the 3rd round here, but it's looking like I'm going to start wide receiver heavy. Maybe we start. Basically, my draft has been, I love hammering wide receivers in the first 5, 6 rounds. And then our philosophy changes kind of around 6 through 10. That's where I'm taking a lot of flyers on running backs. And because it's best ball, I don't have to worry about setting my lineups, which makes it really easy to just hammer a ton of high upside running backs. And, running back is one of the most volatile positions because these guys get hurt often the most, and they're probably the hardest guys to project, whereas the receivers, you have a better hit rate taking receivers early. So let me recap here. We are through 2 rounds. After I took Higgins, you see Debo, Tyreek. There's Javonte Williams, Mark Andrews, and Alvin Kamara, round 3, pick 1. There's Michael Pittman. Would have loved Michael Pittman here. As it's shaping up, AJ Brown and Mike Williams are my 2 favorite receivers at the moment. I suppose I could take Nick Chubb here if he is going to fall. I don't mind that move here, but AJ Brown and Mike Williams to get a stud receiver here at this point does make me excited here. So the decision is Nick Chubb at running back. I don't really see any other running backs that make sense to me, but for me to get Mike Williams added to this receiving group, holy best ball, Jefferson, Higgins, and Mike Williams, I think this is what I want to do. And then let me just start to highlight some of the guys that I got here. So we ended up with Mike Williams here at he's my 16th best player here. And then I did kind of do the reverse. I have Mike Williams ranked higher than Tee Higgins, but so far we got 3 guys ranked in my top 23. And as far as wide receivers go, let me do some highlighting here. I ended up getting 3 wide receiver 1s in my projection. So I'm feeling really good with this lineup so far, and we'll see what we can grab for running backs. And Aiden says he likes the QBs early. Josh Allen's probably going to be going off the board pretty quickly here. I think the sweet spot for me, and see what's cool too now, I mean, we got Justin Jefferson, Tee Higgins, and Mike Williams. So that's going to put Herbert, that's going to put Burrow and Kirk Cousins all on our radar to get that stack that everybody loves doing. So we'll see if we can find some fun quarterbacks to snag at the end here. Do you guys like the dark mode here? Do you guys want me to switch to white? I kind of like the dark mode. It's just a little bit easier on the eyes. But after I take big Mike Williams, you see Keenan Allen go right after. And then you got Nick Chubb, DJ Moore, James Conner. Kyle Pitts is finally starting to creep back in here. I wish he was a 4th round pick, but it's still a little too early for me. This guy goes with Kelsey and Pitts. Interesting strategy here. Ezekiel Elliott and then Josh Allen at the end of the 3rd round. And yeah, my favorite tight end, kind of the 4th round is this kind of weird no man's land where I'm not in love with any pick. I will take a running back if there's one there. I kind of like Breece Hall when he's been falling, but lately Darren Waller's been kind of my default 4th round pick. So I'm going to highlight Darren Waller. In terms of running back, I mean, I suppose there goes Breece Hall. So scratch that. We're going to be looking at running backs later, like my boy AJ Dillon, maybe Tony P. Look at the Buffalo running backs later too, but we are building a monster wide receiver build here. And the cool part is we can actually start a 4th wide receiver with the drafters settings because you have to start 3 wide receivers and then you get 1 flex. So I'm not opposed. Man, if we can get my boy Cortland Sutton to fall to us, I'm all aboard that. Otherwise, it looks like maybe Terry McLaurin might be the move here. Undecided yet. I do think Darren Waller sticks out, and we missed on Cortland Sutton. So the decision between McLaurin and Waller is what we're looking at. I do have Terry McLaurin ranked fairly high. Let me see here. McLaurin is my 30th overall player, and I'd have to scroll down to find Darren Waller. So we might wait for tight end here. I think the move's McLaurin. What do you guys think about Terry? We'd have to pull Justin Herbert here if we want to get that Justin Herbert stack. I'm not opposed to that. But again, Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins we can have later. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull Terry as my wide receiver 4. And man, Terry McLaurin last year, consider the fact that he played with Taylor Heineke, and let's just see where Terry McLaurin ended up finishing last year. You see Taylor Heineke with Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 25. I think that's the floor, So I'm getting 1,000 yards for sure, and then the question mark will be, can Terry, get more than 5 or 6 touchdowns? So I'm locking in 4 stud wide receivers. Let me go back here and highlight my guys. I have Terry McLaurin as my 30th overall flex player. And in my wide receiver rankings, he's right here at my wide receiver 17. So far, so good. I'm liking this. And yeah, Terry as my my wide receiver 4. He's going to be in my flex. So we're going to be flexing Terry McLaurin, which is totally fine. Thoughts on Cam Akers this year? So he went before we could get him. I'm beginning to round 4. I think he's one of the guys. As far as running backs, round 4, it's either Breece Hall if he falls or Cam Akers. Those are really the only 2 RBs I want to hit. Otherwise, I mean, Darren Waller's still on the board. If he somehow makes it to us, that's going to be a steal. So my round 4 preferences it's always Sutton. I'm coming around to Juju as my top 2 wide receiver targets there. Sometimes you can get Waddle at the beginning of the 4th, but he never really makes it that much farther into the 40s overall. But I do like Cam Akers. I think he looks best as a running back 2 for your lineup. This guy actually got him as his number 3. His number 3, which looks really good. So he's going to be flexing Cam Akers. So interesting. Like in our flexes, we'll be competing Cam Akers, Terry McLaurin. But oh man, we are hoping for a Darren Waller fall here. He's the top available player right now, 43.8 ADP. Probably going to be auto picked here, but we will see. Yeah, just Herbert's. We'll wait and see on quarterback. But as it's going right now, Waller's my top available. Looks like he's going to get auto picked here. Unfortunately, oh, Darnell Mooney slides in. So hopefully this is a big one. If we don't get Waller here, Kittle, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, and there goes Darren Waller. So this was kind of a worst case scenario for me. As it looks, you got DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The board is telling me to continue this 5 monster wide receiver set with DK Metcalf. And what's nice is I'm not relying on DK Metcalf to score for us every week, but he's going to be our wide receiver 5. And essentially, this draft is going to tip, and I'm just going to be hammering running backs. We got 5 stud wide receivers. Let me look here. I have DK Metcalf right behind Terry as my wide receiver 18. And in the flex column here, DK is my 32nd overall best player. So we're looking so far so good. Again, I have 5 players ranked in the top 32 of my numbers, and we took DK at 53. So we stuck some value in there. And if you peep the bye weeks, like we got no bye week troubles, and at this point we're on coast. So like let's filter some of these running backs. We're gonna love looking at AJ Dillon round 6 if he can make it to us there at 68. I'm all aboard that. Otherwise, I mean, there's kind of no rules at this point. I love all of these running backs, man. These all are fantastic values. We know Justin loves his Rashad Penny there. And at this point, man, we're gonna be snagging RBs left and right coming up here. And after, I mean, we've missed on Waller, we missed on Kittle. That's kind of the de facto top 6 of tight ends. I guess the top 5 tight ends. I mean, at this point, we're better off just waiting, late for a tight end, and we'll see where the quarterbacks shake out. But we're through 5 rounds right now. Looking at the value in the 5th round, you see a lot of, just look at all the gold. Look at how many gold players. We're tons of wide receivers here. It was RB heavy the first, round and a half. And now you're starting to see that quarterback run. Jalen Hurts sneaks up into the 5th round, Lamar Jackson as well. J.K. Dobbins, I'm not interested in J.K. Dobbins in the 5th. He'd have to fall a little bit later. Still nervous about him not being, 100% himself with that knee injury. But a lot of good players left on the board. I mean, if Kyler Murray fell, I'd be open to that. But I think he's going to go off the board pretty quickly here. There he goes right now. So that guy's got Lamar and Kyler. He's going to stack them with Marquise Brown and James Conner. So a huge Arizona Cardinals stack there. Interesting move. And man, we've set ourselves up here. We are good at receiver. Fingers crossed. We're hoping for AJ Dillon with this pick here. Hopefully none of these guys. Looks like this guy right here might be our one culprit who needs running back. So we'll see if we can slide through. Otherwise, I mean, Josh Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell are there. Those would be some of the top running backs that we can look for. And he goes with Russell Wilson. That's early for Russell Wilson, round 6. So this guy, I guess he went with the Sutton Russell Wilson stack. So hopefully our boy John Carlial can let AJ Dillon slide through, and we're going to be loaded up with AJ Dillon as our round 1, or I guess our RB1. So 8 seconds left here. Please let AJ Dillon slide through. Otherwise, I guess I'm cool with Josh Jacobs at that point. But we get rewarded with my favorite running back to take in 2022. Round 6, lock it in. AJ Dillon. And I don't care. Like, Aaron Jones is a great player. Even when Aaron Jones is healthy, you're going to see AJ Dillon step up and get a lot of touches. So we're locking in him there. And just look at all the running backs that we can take at this point. And you're starting to see the ADP too shift some of these running backs up, whether it's Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell, even Antonio Gibson. I think at some point we're fine with, because it's best ball league. We can get Gibson with McKissick, and every other week one of those guys will get a big week. So we're feeling good so far. And yeah, so much running back value. But this is a 0 RB draft here with AJ Dillon as our running back one. I put Aaron Jones as the thumbnail. I might have to switch that to like Justin Jefferson or something. Maybe throw another wide receiver in there. As far as the quarterbacks go, we're still looking at Joe Burrow. I wouldn't be opposed to, again, I love Kirk Cousins down here. I think he's a guy that we can bank on being a fringe quarterback one for us. And looking at the numbers Kirk Cousins was he was a quarterback one last year, and there's already reports of them being more pass happy this season. So he's quarterback 10 last year, right between Hurts and Kyler Murray. Again, he did play 16 games. The other guys did not. And then 2020, you see Kirk quarterback 11. So I'm cool with that. As far as Dak and Lamb, that's like the ideal Dallas stack there. Outside of Lamb, I like Dalton Schultz. I don't like him in the 6th round over some of these other studs that you can get here. But it's Dak, Lamb, and Pollard. Those have been the Cowboys that I've been wanting to accumulate. But again, at this point, I'm cool with letting it trickle here on the quarterbacks. I mean, even if we end up with Kirk Cousins and even Matt Ryan or something to that effect, I think I'm okay with it. So we'll see what happens. There's still too many running backs on the board that I like. Jacobs, Gibson, even Miles Sanders at this point becomes appealing. And one or a couple more picks here, and we're almost guaranteed Jacobs or Gibson. And you can see Jacobs' ADP is 63, and he's still not off the board. There goes TJ Hawkinson. One more pick, and we're guaranteed one of these RBs. And I mean, at this point, we have Terry McLaurin. I'm not too worried about putting Gibson on there. But man, we get Josh Jacobs. I mean, at this point, I love Gibson, Sanders, Pollard, like all 4 of these guys are in play, but we're going to take Josh Jacobs here to be our RB2 with AJ Dillon. This is lining up beautifully, guys. This is looking really, really fun. Let me go back and highlight some of my guys here. So my running backs down here, there's Jacobs and Dillon are both top 50 players for me, which essentially, I guess, in my flex rankings, that puts them probably into the 5th round, and we're getting premium value on those guys. We get Dillon in the 6th and Josh Jacobs at the 7th round. That was best case scenario, dude. The 0 RB approach really, really worked. And guess what? We might not be done. In round 8, we'll see what we can make happen there. But I'm even open to going back to receiver. Alan Lazard is definitely a guy there. I was hoping Christian Kirk would make it there, but Christian Kirk starting to creep up into the 7th round of drafts. Maybe we look into pulling a quarterback at this point. I mean, if Dak were to fall to us here at 92, I think that would be intriguing. But again, waiting for Cousins would be ideal. Justin wants us to pull the penny. I mean, just look at the running backs: Clyde, Damian, Singletary, Edmonds, Hunt, Penny. Man, like we could easily get some of these guys here on the turnaround. And as far as tight end, like I'm cool with waiting to make a nasty duo or trio with like Irv Smith or Pat. Even Cole Kmet is intriguing, and I still like Zach Ertz and Dawson Knox as well. So we'll keep waiting here. After we took Josh Jacobs, you see Tony Pollard, Christian Kirk, Miles Sanders, Gibson, Harris. So you see round 7. A little bit of green trickling in here. So that's kind of that sweet spot of running backs in the mid rounds here, round 7 and 8. I think you're going to see a lot of RBs fly off the board. I'm even open to Clyde Edwards-Helaire if he can fall to us, but we will see. We're having a good draft so far. So if you guys are new to the Fantasy Fellowship, you should definitely subscribe, help our numbers grow, like the video. That helps us get recommended to more people to help people draft and get ready for their 2022 season. So we're almost up to pick. As far as the board right now, I mean, Alan Lazard, and then we could be done at wide receiver. I think my friend Jesse Meineke tweeted out something that Aaron Rodgers as wide receiver 1 has never finished. I guess the lowest he's finished is wide receiver 26. So I'm starting to like round 8, Alan Lazard. You're probably getting a top 36 wide receiver at that point. So he would have been nice. But at this point, we are we're guaranteed Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Devin Singletary. And what's nice about taking these guys is we can get their handcuffs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Devin Singletary, we can easily get their backups, whether it's Ronald Jones or even Jerick McKinnon. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot here. Let's go with Devin Singletary, and then maybe I can try and get James Cook or Rashad Penny on the turnaround. So I have a ton of Clyde shares, so I'm trying to differentiate myself there. But Devin Singletary, at the end of last year, Singletary was just going off. Completely, took away Zach Moss. And at the end of the last season, you see Singletary finished as the RB20, and he averaged 11.6 PPR points per game. But look at what he did in the last 7 or so games, including the playoffs. You see his lowest game was 14.9 PPR points, just heavily used as a rusher. You see 22 carries, 22. He rushed for a touchdown in 6 straight games. So I think there's potential for Singletary to be very, very good to us. And look at this, like Edwards, Edmonds, Hunt, Penny, James Cook, all these guys potentially there for us in the 9th round. And man, I'm feeling really, really good about this draft so far. The 0 RB approach, hopefully one of those top guys that I have starred can fall through to us. Otherwise, I mean, I'm looking at Goddard, Knox, Ertz. We could lock in a starting tight end at this point. Peep where Olave just went. Chris Olave, man, starting to creep up into the top 100 of numbers here. So that's really intriguing to me. We are 1, 2, 3 picks away. Boys, we are guaranteed Clyde Edwards, Penny, or James Cook after this next pick. If he doesn't take running back, we're guaranteed at least one of those running backs as our RB4. So we have the sexy set of 5 wide receivers, and it looks like there we go. We are guaranteed Edwards, Penny, or James Cook. And I mean, I think at this, like, it's getting out of hand. Clyde Edwards-Helaire falling into the 5th round, or the 9th round. What are we doing here? Doesn't make any sense to me. Especially for a guy who already, like, last year, I know the numbers weren't great the last 4 games of the season, but he competed with Darrell Williams all last year for opportunity, and you see a lot of double-digit numbers in there. There's Rashad Penny off the board. That would have been nice to get there, but Tyler Lockett. There's Clyde Edwards-Helaire here. But I think what we're going to do, just for a best ball strategy, we have Singletary. Let's go ahead and pair him with James Cook. And basically we're locking in some stud Buffalo Bill running back points or touchdowns, whatever. And I think we're looking good there. So all of a sudden, 5 straight wide receivers to start, 4 straight running backs coming through. And we're not done yet. Let's go through and kind of star some of my favorite running backs here. I mean, if we can get Clyde, he's not going to fall to us in the 10th round here, but Rhamondre Stevenson is an option. Rachaad White starting to creep up draft boards with the Fat Lenny news. I do like Nyheim Hines as well, but these tight ends, man, you got Goddard, Knox, and Ertz. Looks like Goddard just went off the board. If I can get Knox or Ertz on the comeback, I think that would be the move. Otherwise, maybe we'll look at these quarterback situations. And I think we are, we look like the only team without a QB. Let me just kind of zoom in here and show you. So it looks like the first overall team does not have a QB yet. And we have a legit chance at getting Rodgers or Kirk Cousins to fall to us. So I think maybe that will be the move. Round 10 quarterback, and we'll go from there. But you see, again, look at the just amount of green trickling in here from about round 6 through 9. You see a lot of people are pivoting there, and just look at there's going to be receivers taken throughout the whole damn draft, but just heavy wide receivers rounds 2 through about 5. And then you see the quarterback runs. There's a couple different quarterback runs this year. There's one that happens in the 5th or the 6th round. And then there's this round 7 through like about 8 to 9 where a lot of guys go off the board. And my guy over here steals my Kirk Cousins. So we're going to be making an interesting group of quarterbacks here. If we can get Aaron Rodgers, I suppose we will do it. Otherwise, I'm okay with just making a random group of quarterbacks and seeing where they fall. So Rodgers, best quarterback available. I'm assuming Rhamondre is going to go off the board here. We just lost Zach Ertz, so no tight end to make way of yet. Kenneth Walker off the board. You see him there, and then we're moving around. So I think Aaron Rodgers is the move. It looks like we're going to be gifted with although Rhamondre Stevenson, guys, I think that might be. I'm going to have a tough time if he left me Rhamondre. So I'm going to essentially, this guy right here is going to take Aaron Rodgers. But at that point, we've already waited so long here. Let's just go ahead and grab one of my favorite guys, Rhamondre Stevenson. I like Kenny Gallaudet. I think Kenny Gallaudet round 10. Looking at Gallaudet's numbers at the start of last year when the Giants were like all relatively healthy as a group, he looked fine. I mean, he struggled a lot. He didn't score a touchdown all season. Let me see where I can find him. Where is Kenneth Gall? Oh, down here. Kenny Gallaudet. So in terms of PPR settings, he averaged 6.4 points per game, just over 500 yards. 37 receptions on 76 targets. It was just a struggle bus. But you look at his first 4 games, I could see some hope here. 4 for 64 in two games, 3 for 38. That's kind of his floor, I think. And then a big 6 for 116 against the Saints. And look at the targets, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I think that's kind of his range. He's going to see 6 to 8 targets per game. And then everything just kind of fell off after Daniel Jones injured himself. So I think Kenny Gallaudet, if you want to put him on your platoon here. And wow, my guy here at the 1 spot did not take Aaron Rodgers. Perhaps you see this guy right here snipe Aaron Rodgers in front of us. That would definitely hurt us. But either way, we're getting Rodgers or Justin Fields here. I'm feeling pretty good about that because this guy's not taking a third quarterback. So we will see. There's Michael Gallup. This guy probably going to take Aaron Rodgers here from us to pair with Trey Lance, which is a bit of a bummer if that happens. And there he goes. But Justin Fields is the top-rated player. So at this point, we're getting a fun rushing quarterback. He's look at his points per game, 16.9, 18, a 3, an 18, and a 25. So I'm pretty happy with getting a guy like Justin Fields there as our QB1. And then we just need to snag a couple more guys. I think we have we're going to put the guy Deshaun Watson in our back pocket. We'll reach for him if we need to. He's been going somewhere in the rough. He's been a lock in the 17th round. So if I have to reach on him in the 16th, I will do so. And we'll go with a Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson situation. And maybe we get one more guy there. So I'm not too concerned there. But now I think our attention should begin to turn towards tight end, maybe start looking at some sleeper wide receivers. Again, I really like our running back group now. AJ Dillon, Josh Jacobs, Devin Singletary paired with James Cook, and then Rhamondre Stevenson. I mean, that does look pretty nice. And then I have in my back pocket, round 20 has been the sneaky spot to just grab Zach Moss. And then we're pretty much good at running back the rest of the way because we're going to be scoring Buffalo Bills running backs all season. And then from there, it's kind of, Dillon's, Jacobs, and Stevenson to score for us. So I'm feeling pretty good about that group. And at the moment right now, you see guys like Tua, Cole Kmet, Albert O. I like Albert O, but there was a report today that I didn't like for the Broncos tight end. That made me a little bit nervous. I think if we draft Albert O, we would need to do so and pair him with the rookie tight end there, Dulcich, the stream stretcher. He's down here. Where is he? Where is Greg? Down here. So we'll put a star on him. But we're going to make a ragtag group of tight ends. I'm not too nervous about missing some of these guys. I still like Njoku, Fant, Everett, Tunyon, Hunter, Henry. There's tons of tight ends available here for us to make. And we're probably going to need 3 of them at this point. But I feel so solid about our running backs and our receivers. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how the board falls. It'd be great if Tua could fall. But I have a feeling you might see these 3 teams maybe snag Tua. There's DJ Chark off the board. In terms of ADP, you're seeing Albert O start to fall. I wouldn't mind Pat Freiermuth. I think he could be there's Albert O. I think Pat Freiermuth is the move here, though. He's probably going to lead the Steelers in receiving touchdowns. I think that would be logical to expect him to do so. Daniel Jones off the board here. So there's Michael Carter, Darrell Henderson, some backup running backs here. If Rachaad White wasn't already picked, I'd look for him. But we'll go ahead and lock in big Pat Freiermuth here. 7 touchdowns last year. Someone to just lock us in at the tight end position. I'm a little bit disappointed I haven't been able to stack anything with my quarterback here. But we'll find something. Though something will stick. Even a guy like Jared Goff wouldn't look bad in this group. But we're having fun here. We're moving into the 12th round. And now we just got to continue to add some fun wide receivers. Let me start to shake some of these guys out. I like Jalen Tolbert late. I do like KJ Osborne. One of the sleepers that's been flying up draft boards has been Nico Collins, the wide receiver 2 there in Houston. I even like Sammy Watkins real late. Julio Jones is interesting. I know he's not an exciting pick, but he played well. He came back, hot the last 2 games of the season for Tennessee. He did go 6 for 62 in the playoffs against Cincinnati, and then Week 18 against Houston, 5 for 58 in a touchdown. So adding a guy like Julio Jones, it really depends on where he falls, but he could be a fun guy to put in our back pocket. And yeah, there's plenty of wide receivers that I like here. In terms of tight end, we picked 149th overall. So I think maybe getting a guy like Hunter Henry makes sense if he could slide through. Michael Carter, Dotson, Pierce, Parker. I like Kenneth Gainwell too. Maybe we continue the running back group here with Kenny Gainwell. In terms of quarterbacks, I'm not super in love with anybody, but it looks like everybody now has 2 quarterbacks in this group except this team right here. So we just have to keep an eye on him. I guess the Hurts team. So these 2 guys, potential for them to take a quarterback here, might have to do so. We missed on Kenneth Gainwell. So round 13, who's sticking out here? I'm gonna fall into Hunter Henry, and different buy than Pat Freiermuth. We're gonna lock in some touchdowns there. So Freiermuth and Henry, 2 guys that I like for touchdowns. And again, I think we might have to pull the trigger on some of these quarterbacks soon, whether it's Watson or Baker Mayfield. That's kind of our end game targets. But I still like pairing Mac Jones with Hunter Henry makes sense. Again, we'll see what these 2 guys do. These guys have a lot of picks. And they only have 1 quarterback each. There goes Jared Goff. So it looks like we just have to see what this guy does on the turnaround here. For the most part, you don't see people draft 3 quarterbacks. It looks like the Stafford team here, he's only got 1 QB. So we'll see what he does. He's got 2 picks here in a row. And yeah, we'll keep it moving. But I'm feeling pretty good about this team. Things worked out. There goes Tyler Higbee off the board. If I needed another tight end, I still think David Njoku, especially with a full if Deshaun Watson ends up playing, 8 to 10 games this year, Njoku is going to be a busy guy. So he would be a fun wide receiver for us, or a fun tight end for us. Even Hayden Hurst down here, interesting guy. You got Big Mo, Ali Cox, a lot of interesting tight ends left on the board here. And again, I think I'm content with being done at the running back position. I still like Chris Evans late, but we really don't need too many more running backs, I think, at this point. And let's see here. This is the Stafford team. Does he get another quarterback? Looks like he's very wide receiver heavy. And he started he does go with Zach Wilson. So it looks like we're gonna get our pick at QB, but we gotta watch this guy right here. He's only got Russell Wilson. So I think at this point, let's start to look at our board. Tyler Algier, Van Jefferson, Khalil Herbert, Mac Jones. I'm kind of thinking Njoku is the move here as Hayden Hurst comes off the board. What sucks though is we're giving up on Nico Collins if we do so. So I might want Nico Collins here. I'm nervous about this team though, drafting Deshaun Watson. Let's see what goes through. There's Jamal Williams. I'll tell you what, we can gamble on Fant or Njoku. I think the pick though is we want Nico Collins as our wide receiver 6. And again, we have no buys correlating for our wide receivers, which is fantastic. I love that. And Nico's just been a guy that's been rising. He used to get him, the 17th round pick 200 or so, but he is just climbing. And yeah, we'll play the game here. If Fant or Njoku can slide through at the tight end spot for us, I'm happy with that. Otherwise, we'll go make our pick here, and we can slap Deshaun Watson on this team, see what happens. There goes Njoku. And yeah, there's so many tight ends that I like later. I'm not too nervous about snagging a couple extra tight ends here. But yeah, Tannehill, Wentz, Mills, these guys can be a QB 2 or 3 for us. And again, at this point, QBs are more likely to change your draft at this point, I think, as we approach the 200s overall. And I'm just looking at my due diligence here for running backs. Again, I still like Chris Evans real late. But here's our guy with Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston. Let's see if he takes another quarterback here. Austin Hooper. I like Austin Hooper, actually. With the Tennessee Titans, we really don't know how healthy Robert Woods is. And there's potential for Austin Hooper to be a really busy receiving weapon for Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill's already talked him up a little bit this minicamp in June. So I like I like the sleeper there on our guy. We missed on Hooper, Fant, and Njoku, so I don't want to take the risk here. I'm gonna lock in Deshaun Watson, which I know morals, how you feel about Deshaun Watson. It's not a great thing that he's been in the news for, but all the things that all the tea leaves I'm reading are that Deshaun Watson is not going to be suspended for a full season. And then the report came out yesterday that he is likely to sue the NFL if he were to be suspended. So that could even make things even more murkier. But I think, man, to get a guy like Watson in the 15th round, and even if he just plays 4 games for us at this point, it's worth it. Because look at this group, round 15. If any of these guys end up scoring 4 times for their teams, like that's a win at this point. So for us to get a hit on Deshaun Watson feels pretty damn good in the 15th round there. So I'm happy with that. And now we can kind of just do whatever we want. We have the initial build here: Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson at the QB position. Our running back group is AJ Dillon, Josh Jacobs, Devin Singletary, James Cook, and Rhamondre Stevenson. And then our receiving group: Justin Jefferson, Tee Higgins, Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, and Nico Collins. And then Pat Frymuth, Hunter Henry there at the tight end spot. Looking at tight ends down the list here, again, we can just add some guys here. I don't even care if we get Jonnu Smith tacked onto this. There are some guys here that I don't mind late. Even Greg Dulcich is an interesting flyer here. There has been some good reports on the rookie Daniel Bellinger as well for the Giants, but we'll see. And then it sounds like Tyler Conklin is the tight end to own in the Jets system. I know they signed CJ Uzomah, but Conklin's a damn good blocker. I don't think Uzama's got a better blocking outlook than him. But we'll see. We'll see. We have a good, well-rounded group, and at this point, we're just going to take best player available. Even if I had to take a guy like Ryan Tannehill here, I think I'm fine with it. But maybe we pivot and look at some of the wide receivers here, as you can always use more wide receivers. But a guy like Chris Evans, we're going to have to take Chris Evans here. I don't think he'll make it back to us at 197 if we want him. And keep in mind, I got Zach Moss in my back pocket round 20. He's been going undrafted. Like, he doesn't even have an ADP. So I'm going to be solely responsible for him being drafted, I think. There's Sammy Watkins chilling. People are kind of excited about him at this stage of the draft. But, man, the quarterback still, like Tannehill, Wentz, I feel like these guys should go. Like, look at even Carson Wentz. I know the ceiling's not really there. He did put up a 20-point game in 4 games last year. He did put up a 20, so there's potential for him to score a few times. And as a guy that can maybe hold us over, I'm interested in that. But we'll slide into. Let's just grab Ryan Tannehill here, and then we're done at QB. So we got Tannehill, Fields, Watson. We're done there. We know we want round 20 Zach Moss. So we have three picks to fill. So we should probably get one of each position: running back, receiver, tight end, perhaps. I would love Malik Cox if he were to fall. Even Brevin Jordan's a guy that showed promise at the end of last year. Look at his last 5 games here. He did have a 1.9 and a 2.7, but the other games are functional: 11.3, 12.6, and 9.6. Scored 2 touchdowns in the last handful of games here. Maybe he's more involved as a tight end this season. And yeah, you start to see some more wide receiver guys start to fly off the board. I really like one of my favorite guys to grab this late has been Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's flying up my draft board, especially because you can just pair him with Watson. And DPJ, man, had himself a nice, a sneakily good campaign last year playing with Baker Mayfield. He did erupt for a couple big games. You see the 26, a 16, a 12. And he's got a couple other games down here. So I like DPJ as a deep target. Think about how Will Fuller played in that offense. I think DPJ is a guy that we would not mind adding to our collection. And then after that, again, Brevin Jordan's there still, Tyler Conklin. I don't know. We missed on Chris Evans, so that's unfortunate. But adding Julio Jones is definitely an option. We're up to pick here. I'm just going to grab Julio Jones. He's probably going to sign somewhere pretty quickly before training camp start in the next week or so. My favorite landing spots for a guy like Julio have been, I think the Colts make a lot of sense. Not only, it's Matt Ryan, but you also have a young player in Alec Pierce who could benefit immensely from just learning from Julio Jones for a season. I think that could be a really, really smart pickup for the Colts, because Colts don't really have much depth after Michael Pittman Jr. We have Alec Pierce, we have Paris Campbell, but getting Julio Jones on a contender, I think, makes a lot of sense. And yeah, at this point, 3 more picks to go. We know Zach Moss is one of them, and I think I'm cool with potentially just snagging some of these tight ends now. Let me just double check the running back spots here. We could take a flyer on James Robinson. I don't love it, but he's an interesting guy for sure. Nobody else really makes sense, I think, this late. I kind of like Tyler Beatty here. I should have mentioned Gus Edwards has been moving up draft boards. Where was Gus Edwards selected? Gus Bus. Round 14. So the first pick of the 14th round is where Gus Edwards go. He's a good 0 RB candidate. If you are nervous about J.K. Dobbins, you should like Gus Edwards. They did, both suffer a knee injury, but Gus Edwards was a little bit less severe. And it sounds like he has the inside track to start week 1. So something to note there. And again, we're so wide receiver heavy. But man, getting Donovan Peoples-Jones here might be a sexy move. And then we'll finish with a whatever tight end falls to us at the end of the draft here. I think I'm cool with. But I feel relatively okay with Pat Freiermuth and Hunter Henry. In terms of projections, though, let me see where I have those guys ranked. I have Pat as my tight end 11 and Hunter Henry as my tight end 16. So we could just go 0 tight end. Maybe getting Jonnu Smith there and just saying if a tight end's going to score in New England. I mean, Jonnu he had 1 touchdown last year. Just heavily underutilized. Disappointing waste of money, I guess, from their perspective. But we'll see. I can always snag someone I like there in the 19th round. But we're going to land on DPJ. I guess Duvernay. There goes Donovan Peoples-Jones. Dang it. But yeah, we're so loaded at wide receiver here. Maybe it does make sense to just grab our favorite tight end at this point. Should we just? I think Tyler Conklin's kind of the move. Let me just double check here. Best available. James Robinson. I'll tell you, we'll take a flyer here on James Robinson, because if he plays, and he's just a guy I don't want to bet against. And a 0 RB build, it kind of makes sense there to get a guy like James Robinson. So 2 more picks to go. We know Zach Moss is going to be our 20th round pick, so we essentially just need to grab one of these tight ends, whether it's Conklin, Uzama, even Adam Troutman. We know Jameis Winston loves his tight ends, and Troutman actually played pretty well down the stretch last year. You see his last 5 games, 8.8, a 1.4, but 16.8, 8.2, 8.7. I mean, that could be something there. I know a lot of people are interested in Taysom Hill at these prices, but I don't know if I'm one of them yet. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll do a 19th round tight end here. Conklin, Smith, or even, again, this Greg Dulcich news. He was getting reps with the ones back in OTA. So they're saying they put him on the fast track. They're going to see what he can do. And he might help, stretch the seams there for Russell Wilson, because apparently Albert O didn't really do well on deep passes when he was targeted down the field. So we'll see. But so far, so good here. I'm liking the build. We're almost up to pick. We'll go ahead here and get. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take a flyer on. We'll go with Adam Troutman. Let's see what he's about. His bye is week 14. Doesn't really mess with our other buys here, but we know Jameis Winston loves his tight ends, and that's really all we need to know. And then again, our last pick is going. I mean, should we? At this point, is Zach Moss really going to help us sway here? Dillon, Jacobs, Singletary, Cook, Stevenson, and James Robinson. No, I feel good enough about the tight ends. Let's go ahead. I mean, I was thinking it out. If anything happens to Singletary, are they going to give James Cook all the carries? Probably not. Zach Moss actually, at the start of last year, he was kind of the guy. 5 of his first 6 games were double digits, and he scored touchdowns for them in 1, 2, 3 games. 3 games he scored touchdowns. He ended up having 4 touchdowns in his first 3 games. So I think Zach Moss is an interesting sleeper. And again, round 20, who really cares at this point? Just an interesting guy we can add to our collection. But this was a lot of fun. I'm going to be I'll be editing this video later and getting the timestamps in there for you guys. But I had fun. It's Tuesday night, July 19th, training camps. I think rookies reported today for like a handful of teams. And next week we're gonna start getting training camp reports. So I'm super stoked about that. We're just gonna wait here and make this round 20th pick, and we'll call it a day after that. So let's see what we can do with this best ball championship team. Again, we're going to take Zach Moss here. And yeah, that's about it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this build here. Again, we started 5 wide receivers and then came back with 5 straight running backs. I haven't been able to do that in a championship build so far. So this was a lot of fun. And we're at that point now where you can kind of start to see the pockets and where positions are going to be moving. Again, look at all the gold at the top half. It's heavy wide receiver, and then it shifts to heavy running back, rounds about 6 through 10. Heavy running back. You see a lot of green in there. And then the later rounds, tons of quarterbacks flying off the board, but look at all the blue. Tight ends kind of just, you know, come and take over the second half of the draft. So N'Keal Harry, Bryan Edwards, Romeo Doubs, Odell Beckham here. This guy got a lot of receivers here at the end of his draft. But let's go ahead and queue up the Zach Moss. And Greg Dulcich still on the board. Tyler Conklin still on the board. These guys should be drafted at the end of the drafts here. But that's okay. We're happy with what we did in this draft. And let's call it a day. After this pick, we'll make Zach Moss. And I just want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. 46 minutes for this live PPR drafters.com mock draft. And there we go. The recap. Here is our build as I zoom in. We're looking at Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, Ryan Tannehill. We didn't spend any early capital on a quarterback, and this feels like a really good group. We didn't get to stack many guys. Probably, I don't think we stacked anyone at all, which is unfortunate. But AJ Dillon, Jacobs, Singletary, Cook, Stevenson, J-Rob, and Zach Moss. I feel pretty good about that running back group. And then our wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Tee Higgins, Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Nico Collins, and Julio Jones. And then the tight end group, let's see if they can get it done. This is a touchdown or bust group. Pat Freiermuth, Hunter Henry, Adam Troutman. That's going to do it. So thank you guys so much for your time. This was a lot of fun. We'll see you in a future video. Peace.